We are live. So hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Monica Powell. I'm the Senior Associate Dean and Graduate Dean here at the Jindal School. We've got an army of folks with us today. Let me just welcome everybody who is here today. We have David Widdifield. He's our Assistant Dean for Academic Operations, the guy that makes everything happen with regard to classes and catalog and a whole bunch of other things. We have Mark Thouin. Mark is our program director for our ITM program, but he is also an assistant dean for graduate programs. And we have Gaurav Shekhar. He is the program director for the Business Analytics Flex and Online, and also an assistant dean for graduate programs. Of course, work in the middle of the semester, so I'm not going to disappoint you. I have some wise words for our students today. So why don't we get there first, which is very short. And then we're going to get on to some important announcements for you guys relative to where we are mid-semester fall 2023. So the topic that I want to talk about today is really the lost art of attentiveness. I think that it is not anybody's fault in this world that our attention spans have all shrunk. I think our attention spans have somewhat been stolen from us by, technology. But I really want to challenge all of our students to try and not let yourselves be distracted so that you can be attentive. I've told students before kind of childhood stories of attending military school, and that, in kindergarten, pre-K, they actually taught us how to be attentive. And it was a really good set of instructions about how to demonstrate to your teacher that you're listening to them, how to use facial expressions to offer them a sense of affirmation that what they're saying is making sense, or maybe an expression on your face that might signal to your teacher that maybe you're a little bit confused, or even nodding your head to affirm. We were taught as little kids to kind of sit up in our chairs and look at people. And of course, when you go to military school, you don't have any real choice in being attentive, because if you aren't, then there are consequences for that. But I think it's a really good skill to have in life in a world where there are just oodles of distractions. And of course, the number one distraction is this device right here. And I think that it is interesting, if you are always distracted by your technology, then that is a moment that has taken you away from what you were doing. And another moment is stolen from you to get you back to what you were doing. So by allowing yourself to be distracted or not being attentive, you're not really optimizing how you're using time. And I think that that is a real problem for young people today. I think that these algorithms around social media and TikTok and Instagram and all of this have really hooked people on feeling like they always need to be connected. But when you are always connected, you are not always attentive. And I think that for students that are in graduate school, that can be a little bit of a problem. So that brings me to a couple of areas where I think there's a little bit of a lack of attentiveness going on. This fall, we started for the first time study halls around two really critical courses that, when we looked at performance data from previous years, had signaled to us that students were struggling and we needed to offer a little bit more help. And those courses were OPRE 6301 and OPRE 6359, BUAN 6359. So that's the intro stat class and the advanced stat class. And so we've been doing these study halls every Friday and Saturday. There's a session on Friday and a session on Saturday for OPRE 6301, a session on Friday and a session on Saturday for the 6359. And the thing that has just absolutely shocked me is the lack of students who are attending these study hall sessions, where we are covering concrete examples of work that's being done in the classroom. Now, you are literally on the heels of midterm exams in these courses. And that's when I think the rubber hits the road and people all of a sudden say, oh my gosh, I really don't understand this. And then you try to cram it all in at the last minute. That never works. But I want to remind students that those study halls are there. If you are enrolled in either of these classes, you'll find that study hall information in your syllabus. You've gotten emails from David Widdifield to remind you that those study hall options are there. And that will really help you. We have recorded these sessions. The first couple of sessions for both of the classes were a little bit bumpy as our student instructors were working out the details, but these are really good. They have done a really good job of going over the material in these classes and giving you concrete examples to practice how you're doing things. So if you aren't taking advantage of this, take advantage of it, because you don't want to wait until you have an academic emergency to take emergency action. So we're really hoping to see participation and engagement. These are done on Teams. They aren't live in a room, and you can easily do it in your pajamas from anywhere. So David, do you want to comment on that until I move to the next topic of attentiveness?
Sure, absolutely. So just as Dean Powell said, we're holding these on Friday afternoon and then Saturday morning and mid-afternoon for both those classes. The materials that we have are going to go over the concepts and also provide you guys with an actual in-class hands-on experience of breaking the solution down step by step. And so we walk through that. The materials are being provided to us by all of the faculty teaching the statistics courses. For both courses. We're putting the files out there so you guys can go back and actually look at the presentation deck. And then, as Dean Powell said, we have a video library. So if you want to go back and watch some of the older ones, you're certainly free to do that. The other thing I want to mention is that in our last session last Saturday, it was asked of, well, I took the course last semester. Can I still come? Absolutely. If you have friends that want to go back and get refreshed, they're working with the concept in another class, by all means, reach out to me. I'll get you guys connected. You can reach out to your friends who have the links to it, but we'll get you connected to that. But yeah, I mean, back to what Dean Powell was saying, this is an excellent resource and one that has been asked for, at least while I was program director in the supply chain and management science, repeatedly by students. Could we get something like this? So yeah, we'd love to see you guys take advantage of it.
Yeah, thank you for that, David. I think, I asked myself, why aren't students taking advantage of it? I think number one, they aren't paying attention and listening and hearing that this is a real live virtual option for you. And I think that we're busy and we're distracted. We're trying to juggle too many things at the same time and therefore not being able to pay attention well to any of them. So please, please take advantage of that. Now, I want to address another issue around attentiveness, and I'm going to bring Gaurav Shekhar into this conversation. And this is around certificates. That is a great add-on benefit to being enrolled in the Jindal School. You are going to take a lot of courses, and if you're going to take several courses that will also earn you a certificate, you should by all means obtain that certificate, but it just doesn't come automatically. And you have to follow the procedure in terms of applying for it and applying for graduation for the certificate. So Gaurav, I'm going to bring you into the conversation because I think this is a little bit complicated. Again, our students aren't being attentive until it's too late. And we want to make sure that every student gets the benefit of getting the degree and certificate. So Gaurav, you want to talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely, Dr. Powell. And I just want to talk about one thing, that the topic for today's chat is attentiveness. And I was teaching a class this morning, and the quote that I used in the class was from Dr. Herbert Simon. He got the 1978 Nobel for Economics, and he had a beautiful quote about data where he said, "A wealth of information creates poverty of attention." And I think that's exactly what's happening with our students, that there is a lot of information and we are unable to be attentive. And that's why you come to a monthly chat with the Grad Dean, because if you steer away from your attention, we'll bring you back. So certificates, why would you not want to extend the benefit of the tuition that you're paying? It's like you go out, buy a bottle of shampoo, and they say there is a smaller bottle that's free. Your certificate is that micro degree that we are giving you. It's a pointed degree, which means we have options like applied machine learning, business intelligence and data mining, healthcare informatics, enterprise systems, cybersecurity. These are just some of the certificates. There's a project management certificate. If you go to the Jindal website, there are loads and loads of certificates listed. one of the best things about these certificates is they're all carved out of our degree programs, which means that if you are taking a class that applies to that certificate, and that class also applies to your program, and you need to check both the catalogs to see if it applies, you get credit for that class right then and there. You don't have to take that class twice to get the certificate. You don't have to pay your tuition twice. So the options that are available on our website, on the Jindal website, please go through them. Your program directors may already have spoken to you about some of the certificates. One thing that you have to remember is you will not get the certificate automatically just because you've completed a certain set of courses. Just the way you are in a degree program, a master's program, you have to be in that particular certificate program as well, which means that there is an application that's required. That application is very similar, and it's actually more simpler than your master's degree application, because you go to your Orion Student Center and there is a tile which says apply to a certificate program. It's literally a 5-minute job, maybe a 2-minute job to apply, but you need to be in that program. Now, you might ask yourself a question, should I apply to this certificate program now, or should I only do it when I have completed the courses? No, you must apply and be in the certificate program before you have completed the set of courses for that certificate, which means go ahead. If you plan to take that certificate, apply now. At the end, let's say you run out of credits and you cannot complete the certificate, the courses related to the certificate, not a problem. That's absolutely okay. You can leave a certificate and be it. But if you think about it, if you are thinking about getting into a certificate program, just go and apply. You know, one of the most asked question when you were still a prospect student, and Dr. Powell and all the PDs used to get this all the time, can I get an application fee waiver? Guess what? You don't have to pay any application fee this time because you're a current student and you're applying for a program at UTD. So please make sure that you go and apply for your certificate. Let me give an example. Applied Machine Learning certificate has 4 courses. If you are a business analytics student, you will by default complete 2 of the courses because they're part of your core. Similarly, for the other certificates also, that might be a case. So you might already be taking the courses without you really knowing that you are taking those courses. What we would recommend is go and check out all these certificate programs. Look at your catalog. And if those are the courses that you're planning to take in the future, just simply go and send an application in. It's okay to have enrolled in that certificate program. And as you complete it, you know, you'll have to just reach out to your program director. They'll make you eligible to graduate and you will get your diploma. The best thing about this is if you're still thinking, should I go for a certificate? Let me give you a data point. Depending on your residency, this certificate might be worth $15,000 to $20,000. You're getting free money back. Don't miss out on this. And these are like micro degrees. If you go to an employer and you want to tell them, well, I did a Buan degree, or I did an ITM degree or a supply chain degree, but I also have a certificate in a certain area that shows what your specialization is. So it's a great benefit the school has.
Yeah, and the other part is you get an actual
diploma.
Certificate diploma.
You get a
diploma. You can put on your wall as well. So the key is that you must enroll in the certificate before you've completed the last class. That is critical. Before you've completed the last class. And then when you get to your final semester, you will need to also apply for graduation for that certificate. And Gaurav's right, you just connect with your program director so they can make you eligible to graduate. So thank you, because I think it's a missed opportunity. And 9 out of 10 times, it's because students were not paying attention to our emails, or they weren't paying attention to our announcements. And then they get really frustrated when they get to the end and they cannot get that certificate. So take advantage of being able to do that. So thank you for that reminder, Gaurav. That was awesome.
And Dr. Powell, can I just add one more thing to it?
Sure.
So, you know, often students feel that I am doing certifications, like, you know, tech certifications, product certifications. I'm getting certified in Tableau, Power BI, I'm getting PMP, I'm getting Scrum Master certification. Those are all great things. But when you compare that to a graduate certificate that's issued by a state university, it's day and night. The weight and the value of your graduate certificate is way more than each of these individual certifications. Now, these certifications might be very focused, laser focused on one area, but your graduate certificate has more breadth, more weight, and it has more acceptance because it's coming from a public institution. So do not miss that opportunity.
Yeah, don't miss out on getting double the power or triple the power. We have a lot of students who will graduate from a degree program or a double degree, and they'll also get 3 certificates. That's really powerful in the employment market. So thank you, Gaurav. So I want to talk about a different kind of attentiveness. You know, when you're in graduate school, you are an adult. And there are going to be a lot of faculty who are going to say, look, I'm not going to grade you on attendance. I'm not even going to grade you on participation. You're a grown up. We expect you to come to class. And if you don't come to class, you either get it however you get it, but it's on you. I do think that while I understand faculty perspectives on that, and also I have that perspective myself, I also think that if you're going to pay for graduate education, you're going to pay for the expertise of your faculty, then you should be attentive and make coming to class a priority. And one place where I think students are not very attentive is that they are not preparing for class before they go to class. They're doing it as an afterthought to class. So I want to bring in Mark Thouin. And Mark, I want you to talk about why is that so important? Even if you're experienced in a certain subject area, you may think you know as much. Why is being attentive and attending class critical? And why is it so critical for an international student in particular to say that they are attentive? And then the other piece of that is, I don't think that graduate students are as attentive to engaging with either their TA or their faculty member in office hours. So Mark, can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the topic for this afternoon as well, about being attentive. In my household, when we have a family dinner, we have a rule that no cell phones are allowed. So that's on purpose. It's intentional so that everyone has to pay attention to you know, who's talking and what's being said, and engage with everyone around them. And that engagement is in the classroom. Now, switching back to a classroom setting here, engagement is part of the learning process. And, you know, learning is not a spectator sport. It's something that you have to be actively involved in. You have to be participating in. You have to put forth effort. You're not just magically going to learn something and know something just by sitting there and passively listening. And so that attention and that you know, being engaged in the classroom is just a super important part of that whole process. And what you were talking about earlier as well about, you know, making sure you're reading ahead of time is also important. Graduate classes, they move quickly. The material they cover is often quite complex. And if you show up to class just expecting to be able to follow along without doing any homework ahead of time or pre-reading, right, chances are you're not going to be able to keep up. And chances are you're going to struggle with the information that's being presented. And so every syllabus has a week-by-week schedule of what's going to happen over the course of a semester, and graduate classes are jam-packed each and every week. So most classes are 2 hours and 45 minutes, but when you think about what's covered in a 2 hour 45-minute session, there's a lot that they go into in a graduate class. And so each week in the syllabus, you'll see a list of readings, assigned readings. There might be a homework assignment tied to that week as well. Read the assigned readings ahead of time. I also strongly suggest looking at the homework problems ahead of time as well. So you have a really good idea of, okay, this is what I'm going to be expected to do as a result of this week's topic and this week's lecture. And then the you know, another benefit of pre-reading and reading ahead of time is, you know, as part of learning and the learning process, repetition matters. So the more times you hear something, the more times you engage with material in a particular topic area, the more you're going to know and the more you're going to learn. So, you know, read ahead of time, listen to it, engage in the classroom, be attentive. And then I also like to kind of follow up and review your notes after the fact. It doesn't have to be immediately after that class session, but maybe later in the day, right? Maybe later in the day, go back and think about and reflect upon what was covered and what was discussed. So, so those are a few thoughts on the classroom and engaging in the classroom and being attentive. So thanks, Monica. I'll turn it back to you.
Hey, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate that. You know, when I was a kid in military school and you were not attentive, you were looking out the classroom window or you were looking at the floor, the teacher, generally a military individual, would say that that was being disrespectful. And I think that we've lost a little bit of that. And I think, you know, it's you go to a wedding these days and you know, you're looking around while this beautiful couple is getting married, and there's oodles of people that are on their phone while they're doing that. And I do think we've lost a little bit of social decorum by not being attentive and by not just giving people the courtesy of your attention. And I think learning is a lot easier when you are. So Angela, just a couple of reminders of when registration opens up. When are those so that students will be attentive about that?
Yes, Dean Powell, thank you so much. So we're in a lull a little bit for the registration time. Everybody should be enrolled in all their classes. We still have a little bit of time for the second 8-week classes. If you're getting any type of internships for the second 8 weeks, you still have a few more weeks, maybe 2, to get enrolled in that. I'll make sure I'll put the calendar in the chat for you so that you have that. I believe the last day is about October 20th, but I'll double check for that. When it comes to spring, that's the big enrollment. We do have a little time before the schedule is released on October 23rd. You'll get your schedule and you will also get your enrollment date and time. That is the date and time that you can enroll yourself online. That won't start until November, but on October 23rd, you will have at least the ability to review the spring schedule and see what time that you can enroll yourself online. Again, if you have any questions about it, definitely ask us. And at JSOM Advising, you can come in. We're doing walk-in appointments, or you can send us an email at jsomgadvising@utdallas.edu. But I would definitely say when that schedule is released, look at it, make a few plans, more than one plan A, B, and C, just in case, because you never know what could happen. And then if you have questions, ask us and ask your program directors and support staff for assistance.
Hey, that is awesome, Angela. So I don't think that we have any questions from attendees today, but I do want to encourage any of you that anytime you have questions, you are always welcome to send an email to jendal@utdallas.edu or reach out to your program director, your program support person, stop by the advising office, send an email to the question desk. We are here to make your journey as easy as we possibly can. But I will promise you that if you will slow yourself down, put the distractions out of your mind, you will get so much more time in your life back. Every time you are distracted, you spend double the time to get whatever it was you were trying to get accomplished done. So time is money. So be attentive, pay attention, put away your phone when you're trying to do homework or when you're in class or when you're having a dinner with a friend or with your family. And let's try to get back to using our eyes and our ears and showing people the respect of being heard. So we wish you guys all a great rest of the semester. Be in touch with us if we can help in any way. I want to thank David and Angela and Mark and Gaurav for being here this afternoon. And please be in touch with us. We're always here and we're always available. Thanks so much, everybody.